You know that feeling when someone says something so insulting that your blood literally boils? Well, that's exactly what happened to me 3 months ago in the gleaming conference room of Meridian Tech Solutions in downtown Seattle. I'm Isabella Chen, and I've been the silent architect behind our company's biggest wins for the past 4 years. But on that rainy Tuesday morning, my boss Marcus Whitfield made the biggest mistake of his career. The boardroom was packed with potential investors from Tokyo. Rain drummed against the floor-to-ceiling windows as Marcus stood there in his perfectly pressed navy suit, gesturing toward our quarterly projections. I sat quietly in the corner, laptop open, ready to answer any technical questions about the revolutionary software algorithm I'd developed, the one that was about to make our company millions. The presentation had been going smoothly. Our third quarter numbers were impressive, showing a 42% increase in client retention and a 37% boost in revenue, all thanks to the predictive analytics system I'd spent 18 months perfecting. I'd worked nights and weekends, debugging code, optimizing algorithms, and personally training our implementation team. But as usual, Marcus was taking all the credit. "Gentlemen," Marcus said with that smug smile I'd grown to despise, "I'd like you to meet my team." He gestured toward me with a dismissive wave. "This is Isabella Chen. She's the pretty one." Then he pointed to himself, straightening his tie. "And I'm the brain." The room fell silent. Even the rain seemed to pause. The Japanese investors exchanged uncomfortable glances, their expressions shifting from polite interest to visible discomfort. My cheeks burned with humiliation, but something else was building inside me. Not just anger, pure, calculated determination. I watched as Mr. Kenji Nakamura, the lead investor, frowned deeply. In Japanese business culture, respect and professionalism are paramount. Marcus had just violated both principles in the most offensive way possible, but he was too arrogant to notice the cultural misstep he'd just made. Marcus continued his presentation, completely oblivious to the bomb he'd just dropped. He clicked through slides filled with metrics and projections that I had personally calculated and verified. Every graph, every data point, every strategic recommendation came from my analysis. Yet there he stood, describing my work as if it were his own brilliant insight. "Our proprietary algorithm," he continued, gesturing grandly at the screen, "represents a breakthrough in predictive customer behavior modeling. I conceived this system after identifying critical gaps in traditional analytics approaches. I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. I had conceived that system. I had identified those gaps. I had spent countless hours researching, prototyping, and refining every single component. The breakthrough he was describing had happened at 2 a.m. in my apartment, surrounded by empty coffee cups and whiteboard equations. But I wasn't listening anymore. I was planning. 4 years of watching him take credit for my innovations. 4 years of being dismissed as just the support staff. 4 years of being overlooked for promotions while less qualified men advanced around me. This was my breaking point. As the meeting ended and the investors filed out, their earlier enthusiasm noticeably dampened, I remained seated, staring at my reflection in the polished conference table. The pretty one. The words echoed in my mind like a challenge. Marcus had no idea what he'd just unleashed. That evening, I sat in my Capitol Hill apartment, surrounded by pizza boxes and legal documents. The Seattle skyline glittered beyond my window as I made phone calls that would change everything. My best friend from law school, David Rodriguez, now a corporate attorney specializing in employment discrimination, listened intently as I explained the situation. "Isabella, you have documentation for all the projects you've led?" David asked, his voice crackling through the phone. "Every single one. Emails, code repositories, client testimonials, performance reviews. I've been meticulous." I scrolled through folders on my laptop, years of evidence at my fingertips. "David, I have project specs with my digital signature, client feedback praising my personal contributions, even recorded meetings where I presented solutions that Marcus later claimed as his own ideas. This is textbook discrimination, Isabella, but you need to be strategic about how you handle this. One wrong move and they could claim insubordination." I spent the weekend organizing my evidence. Email chains showing my direct communication with clients. Code repositories with timestamps proving my authorship of critical algorithms. Performance reviews where I consistently exceeded expectations while receiving minimal recognition. Client testimonials specifically mentioning my name and contributions. Monday morning, I walked into Meridian Tech with a different energy. The open office buzzed with its usual activity, but I saw everything differently now. While Marcus strutted around, boasting about his successful presentation, I quietly began reaching out to our biggest clients. Victoria Hartwell from Premier Financial Group was my first call. I'd personally managed their account for 2 years, designing a custom portfolio optimization system that had revolutionized their investment strategy. Isabella, I was hoping to hear from you. Victoria's warm voice filled my earpiece. That portfolio optimization system you designed has increased our returns by 37%. We've been telling everyone about it. In fact, we're recommending you specifically to other firms. I'm glad to hear that, Victoria. I was wondering if you might have a few minutes to discuss some exciting new developments. Of course. You know, Isabella, I have to say something that's been bothering me. In our last quarterly review meeting, your supervisor seemed to take credit for work that was clearly yours. It was uncomfortable to witness. My heart raced. What do you mean? Well, he kept referring to his system and his innovations, but anyone who's worked with your team knows that you're the technical genius behind everything. It was unprofessional and frankly insulting to your contributions. Over the next 2 weeks, I had similar conversations with 8 major clients. Each one confirmed what I already knew. They valued my work, not Marcus's empty presentations. They wanted to work with the person who actually understood their needs, who had personally solved their most complex problems. Richard Montgomery from Atlas Corporation was particularly direct. Isabella, if you ever decide to go independent or join another firm, you call me first. We want to work with you, not some middle manager who doesn't understand the first thing about our industry. Meanwhile, Marcus remained completely unaware. He spent his days in his corner office, feet up on his mahogany desk, taking credit for deals I'd closed and solutions I'd created. He'd even started telling people he was mentoring me, as if I were some kind of charity case rather than the person who'd built the technology that made our company profitable. I began documenting everything with new attention to detail. Every meeting where he interrupted me, every email where he failed to credit my contributions, every instance where he presented my work as his own. I was building a case, methodically and carefully, but I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. Every condescending comment, every dismissive gesture, every time he called me sweetie or honey in front of clients, it all became fuel for what I was building. 3 weeks after the infamous board meeting, I received an email that made my heart race. The Japanese investors, Nakamura Holdings, wanted to schedule a follow-up meeting, but this time, they specifically requested to speak with the technical lead who developed the algorithm. They wanted to meet with me. The email was formal, but pointed. We would like to arrange a meeting with Ms. Isabella Chen to discuss the technical specifications and implementation strategy for the predictive analytics system. We have specific questions about scalability, integration protocols, and long-term development roadmap that require input from the primary developer. I stared at the email for a full minute before forwarding it to Marcus. Within seconds, he was at my desk, his face flushed with excitement and a hint of panic. Isabella, this is huge. They want to invest $12 million in our technology. I need you to prepare a technical presentation, but don't worry about the business side. I'll handle all the important stuff. He was practically vibrating with nervous energy. Just stick to the technical details. Let me manage the strategic discussion. Of course, Marcus. I'll make sure everything is perfect. But I had already been in contact with Nakamura Holdings. Mr. Sao. Kenji Nakamura had called me personally 2 days earlier, expressing concerns about the leadership dynamics he'd observed in our previous meeting. He'd been direct about his discomfort with Marcus's behavior and his desire to work directly with the technical team. The meeting was scheduled for the following Friday. I spent the week preparing, but not in the way Marcus expected. While he practiced his opening remarks and polished his shoes, I was having quiet conversations with HR, documenting every instance of workplace discrimination, and finalizing agreements with David's law firm. I also reached out to Patricia Fleming, one of our board members and a champion of workplace equality. Patricia had started her own tech company in the 90s, fighting against similar discrimination, and had joined our board specifically to mentor women in leadership roles. Isabella, I've been watching your work for months, Patricia said during our confidential coffee meeting. Your contributions to this company are undeniable. If you're ready to step up, I'll support you completely. Thursday evening, I received a call from Kenji Nakamura himself. Ms. Chen, I wanted to speak with you directly before tomorrow's meeting. Your algorithm is revolutionary, but I have concerns about the leadership structure at Meridian Tech. My pulse quickened. What kind of concerns, Mr. Nakamura? In our previous meeting, your supervisor's behavior was unprofessional. In Japan, we believe in recognizing true talent and treating all team members with respect. We're prepared to make a substantial offer, but we need assurance that we're working with the right people who embody the values we expect from our partners. I took a deep breath. Mr. Nakamura, I think you'll find tomorrow's meeting very enlightening. I hope so, Ms. Chen. We've done our research. We know who really developed this technology. We know who our clients prefer to work with. Tomorrow's meeting will determine whether Nakamura Holdings moves forward with this investment. That night, I barely slept. Everything had to be perfect. Marcus had given me the ammunition I needed with his comment about being the brain. Now it was time to show everyone what this pretty one could really do. Friday morning arrived with unusual sunshine for Seattle. I dressed carefully. A sharp black blazer, minimal jewelry, my hair pulled back in a professional bun. I looked like exactly what I was, a woman who meant business. The boardroom was even more crowded this time. Nakamura Holdings had brought their full investment team, including their technical advisors and cultural consultants. Our company's entire board of directors was present, along with several department heads who rarely attended investor meetings. The tension in the room was palpable. Marcus stood at the head of the table, radiating confidence, completely unaware that his world was about to crumble. He'd worn his most expensive suit and practiced his presentation until he could deliver it in his sleep. But he'd made one critical error. He'd underestimated me. Gentlemen, Marcus began, using the same patronizing tone from 3 weeks earlier. I'm excited to present our revolutionary algorithm and discuss the strategic partnership opportunities with Nakamura Holdings. He gestured toward me with the same dismissive wave. Isabella will handle the technical details while I focus on the strategic vision and business implications. I stood up slowly, my heart hammering, but my voice steady. Actually, Mr. Whitfield, I think there's been a misunderstanding. The room went quiet. Marcus's smile faltered. Isabella, what are you doing? We discussed this. You handle tech, I handle business. I opened my laptop and connected it to the main display. Mr. Nakamura, members of the board, I'm Isabella Chen, and I'm the creator and lead developer of the algorithm you're here to discuss. I'm also the person who has been managing the client relationships that generated 83% of our revenue over the past 2 years. Marcus's face went white. Isabella, this isn't appropriate. What isn't appropriate? I continued, my voice gaining strength. Is taking credit for work you didn't do. What isn't appropriate is dismissing your most valuable employee as the pretty one, while calling yourself the brain. What isn't appropriate is consistently undermining and undervaluing the contributions of the person who built the foundation of this company's success. Murmurs rippled through the room. Mr. Nakamura leaned forward, his expression serious but approving. Ms. Chen, please continue. For the next hour, I presented not just the technical specifications, but the complete business strategy, market analysis, competitive positioning, and implementation roadmap. I explained how I'd identified market gaps, developed solutions, and personally managed client relationships. I showed client testimonials, revenue projections, and scalability plans. The system you're evaluating today represents 18 months of intensive research and development, I continued, clicking through detailed architectural diagrams. I identified the need for predictive analytics in customer behavior modeling after analyzing patterns across 47 different client portfolios. I designed the core algorithms, supervised the coding team, and personally tested every component. Marcus tried to interrupt several times, but the board members silenced him with sharp looks. Patricia Fleming was taking detailed notes, her expression growing more stern with each revelation. I answered every technical question with precision and confidence. When they asked about scalability, I explained the modular architecture I'd designed. When they questioned security protocols, I detailed the encryption methods I'd implemented. When they inquired about future development, I outlined the roadmap I'd been developing for months. Mr. Nakamura asked pointed questions about team dynamics and company culture. Ms. Chen, how would you describe the collaborative environment at Meridian Tech? I chose my words carefully. I believe in giving credit where credit is due, Mr. Nakamura. I value teams where everyone's contributions are recognized and where leadership is based on merit, not gender or seniority. I think true collaboration happens when people feel respected and valued for their actual contributions. The room was silent, except for the soft scratching of Patricia Fleming's pen on paper. When the presentation ended, Mr. Nakamura stood up. Ms. Chen, Nakamura Holdings would like to make you an offer. We're prepared to invest $12 million in this technology, but only if you lead the project as Chief Technology Officer with full authority over technical decisions and team leadership. Marcus sputtered. Now wait just a minute. Mr. Whitfield, Patricia Fleming interrupted, her voice ice cold. I think we need to have a private conversation about leadership changes at Meridian Tech. Based on what I've witnessed today, and frankly, what I've been observing for months, there are serious concerns about management practices and employee treatment that need immediate attention. The other board members nodded in agreement. I could see the wheels turning in their minds, calculating the legal and financial risks of keeping Marcus in his position versus the value of retaining me and securing the Nakamura investment. As the meeting concluded, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders that I hadn't even realized I'd been carrying. Walking out of that conference room, I wasn't just Isabella Chen, the overlooked employee. I was Isabella Chen, the new CTO of a company that was about to change everything. Marcus learned that day that the pretty one had always been the brain, and the brain had just outsmarted him completely. 6 months later, as I stood in my new corner office, looking out at the Seattle skyline, I smiled. The Nakamura partnership had exceeded all projections. Our client base had grown by 60%, with companies specifically requesting to work with me personally. The predictive analytics system had been licensed to 12 major corporations, generating revenue streams Marcus had never imagined possible. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. It's getting everything you deserve, and proving that intelligence, competence, and hard work will always triumph over arrogance and prejudice. Marcus learned that lesson the hard way, but I learned something even more valuable, that standing up for yourself isn't just about personal vindication. It's about changing the game for everyone who comes after you.